Seltzer Kings
podcasts.
Hi, pod friends. It's me, Dave. I'm not really here. While you're hearing this, I'm in Tennessee with my family doing stuff. I really don't know what I'm doing. Mostly I'm eating my mom's cooking and getting fatter. And hanging out with my sister and other cool people. So, you're not getting a podcast this week. But, you're not getting one of my podcasts this week. But you are getting another fine show from the Seltzer Kings Podcast Network, our pod daddies. This is a little show by a bunch of guys that really, really like pussy. Cats. It's about cats. I don't know what their personal sexual preferences are. I'm assuming they're not for cats. I've only listened to a few shows, and they don't seem to have a sexual preference for cats. I should probably not say that at all. This is called the Puzzy Boyz. It's another fine Seltzer King show, and I'm dropping in my feed this week so you guys can enjoy it too, and maybe check it out, or any of the other fine shows on the Seltzer Kings Network, and you can find them all at seltzerkings.com. So, enjoy the Puzzy Boyz. They're reviewing the Garfield movie, which, wow, these guys really, really go to the mat for a bit. I got to respect that, because there's no way in hell I'm watching that piece of crap. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of What the Hell Were You Thinking?
These mics are pretty hot, so you don't have to scream, since we're in the perfect place. Yeah. Hey, where are you going, Zach?
Seeing what the shot is.
Zach, Zach is exiting the car. Folks, to set up the situation, who knows how much of this we need to explain to you, but we are... Danny, where are we?
We are in the parking garage of the Burbank AMC 16, 4 floors up, I think suspiciously sitting in my car while people walk by ready to leave after whatever crappy movie they went to.
And it's finally all 4 of the PZBs are here.
Yeah.
We're all Pussy Boyed out, and it's about, is it 10 p.m.? Not yet?
It's close to 10.
Quarter to 10
yeah.
We're in the same
on a Wednesday.
Same parking lot as if and you guys want to come see me at Flappers sometimes.
Yeah, come see Adam at Flappers. Don't see what we just saw.
We just got out of a 7:30 p.m. showing of Garfield. Now, what's the film's name?
It's called The Garfield Movie. Not Garfield the Movie, which was the 2004 version.
Oh man, they couldn't.
Won't let this go on forever. But it looks okay.
Hey, if we get 5 minutes and we get one little laugh in there or one hot take, I think
even
good.
just starting the episode with it.
Zach Broussard back in the car right now.
All right, so for the camera, we'll I guess
Now,
explain
Nick, you're
it
not
out.
really in it, and that's okay. I think
That's
but
all right. I can pop. I can go
pop
like that.
in, and if you want to
What's
pop
up,
us,
y'all?
Hop in when you want to talk.
But I
I'll get you
think
in there.
basically, if you guys want to talk, you got to be kind of in the middle.
I'll lean back.
Folks,
Lean
can we
back.
just start this podcast episode?
Sure.
Or we feel okay?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there was enough bullshitting preamble.
Hello, Pussy Boys Nation. This is Nick. Pussy Boyz Nick. Pussy Boy Nick. Whatever. I don't think we ever worked that out. Okay, so Zach has given us an assignment to answer a few questions before we go see the film Garfield, the movie. I think that's what it's called.
The Garfield Movie, which is what this current movie is, not to be confused with the 2004 Garfield, the Movie, which is the precursor to Tale of Two Kitties. This is a whole new situation 20 years later. Weird anniversary to celebrate. As you could probably tell, I am not looking forward to this. I actually have a dinner with my boss that I'm going to before the movie, and I'm more looking forward to that, even though he's, super Christian, and it might get a little bit awkward at the table. He's a great guy.
Pussy Boy Adam here. What do I expect from the new Garfield movie? I'll tell you, I'm not expecting much. There's no excuse these days, I don't think, for a movie to be bad. There are insanely talented writers, insanely talented insanely talented everybody involved in movies, but also properties like this, to me, tend to be a cash grab. So I wasn't blown away by the story in the trailer. I expect a lot of generic comedy laughs, a lot of donks on the head, or that's going to leave a mark. I expect that kind of comedy out of this.
This is Zach. I just put my son to bed, and I'm about to make the long trek to hang out with my real children, the other Puzzy Boyz and Garfield. And I am excited to see the new Garfield movie, even though I'm hearing horrible things about product placement. I'm expecting it to essentially be like an hour and a half Stouffer's ad, which I don't say would be better than most other Stouffer's ads, but would be worse than most other Garfield movies. So I'm expecting probably not as good as the 2004 Garfield movie with Bill Murray, but maybe on par with the Tale of Two Kitties sequel.
What do I expect from the new Garfield movie? I think it will be, honestly, not very good. I don't have high hopes for it being like a good film. I hope there are some genuine laughs. Like, I hope there are some moments where I'm like, boys, that's good. We all have to admit, the rest of this is shit, but that's fucking good. But I expect I'll laugh a bunch in the theater, I guess ironically. Is that how, I'm laughing because it sucks, is what I'm guessing. But who knows?
Regardless, I am not happy that we have to do this. I don't like the idea of going to see movies that are going to be bad.
I'm personally not thrilled with the father angle. Maybe it'll be good. I think it's Samuel L. Jackson. So, again, with the people involved in this movie and the budget, it totally has potential to be good. But I think, honestly, I'm not expecting them to pull off a movie that adults will like as well. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we enjoy the shit out of it for non-ironic reasons. But I will tell you, I'm excited to go with three of my friends who grew up with Garfield, but are very much not in the demo that this is probably being aimed at now. From the crowd, we're going to a later 7:30 showing on a Wednesday after the movie's been out for a week. So I don't expect there to be much of a crowd to expect any reaction from.
My expectations for the crowd, I believe they will be thin. And no, I do not mean their body weight. Quite the opposite, actually. I think the crowd itself, I don't think there will be many people there. And I don't know, if there's a few kids, I hope I hear a chuckle. I hope I don't hear groans from children. That would be tough. To hear like an unjaded child just be like, come on.
If we get a Chris Pratt that feels closer to a Parks and Rec Chris Pratt, which we haven't seen in a long time, I could get excited about that. I'm even willing to forgive him for his extremely kind of scary Christian stuff and the fact that he left Anna Faris for Schwarzenegger's daughter and refers to their kids as his only children, even though I think he has one with Anna Faris. We don't need to get into the details.
It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. There was some talk about seeing it in 3D. Fuck that. What are you kidding me? You see Dune in 3D. You don't see the Garfield movie in 3D.
Chris Pratt's voiceover work, I expect to be, I'm going to go with professional, but bland. Maybe he'll surprise me with some take on the Garfield voice that blows us away. Nothing's impossible, but I'm expecting a pretty safe, not too eventful voice out of Chris Pratt for this one. I don't expect it to be bad. I don't expect it to be offensive to the original or anything, but I don't really know why they went with him. I have no problem with Chris Pratt, but I don't know what specific Chris Pratt thing he would bring to it that would make the voice special.
What could this movie do to surprise me? I imagine if I see a pair of tits, I will be surprised.
If this movie does anything that makes me laugh out loud, that makes me invested in the story, that makes me want to talk to my wife about it when I get home, that's what this movie could do to surprise me. It could blow me away. It could be so well done with such a heartfelt, perfectly constructed story with mind-blowing jokes and action and things I've never seen before. It's all possible. Like I said, they have the talent and they have the budget to make these things happen. I have a feeling this is not going to be the Garfield movie that moves the chains. I hope it does. I'm keeping an open mind. And at the very least, in about 15 minutes, I have a lasagna coming out of the oven that I'm going to try to sneak in. And if I get that in there, I will enjoy this movie regardless.
There is 0.00002% chance I'm going to like this movie. And I'm only putting that much in there because I hope Garfield maybe, possibly, for some reason, says the word fuck.
There's a chance. There's always a chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Puzzy Boyz, the only and therefore number one podcast for real men who love their kitties. My name is Zach. My late kitty is named Mochi, but my eternal love is named Garfield.
My name is Danny Solomon. My very early rising kitty is named Marv, and not dead. And my feelings toward Garfield were very strongly positive until tonight.
My name is Adam, and my perfectly behaved cat is named Greg, and my lately barfy cat's name is Holiday, and I could go either way on Garfield my whole life, pretty much.
Wow. Interesting. Hot take.
My name is Nick. My cat's name is Lily. It is like really strange to be doing the podcast like this. I had to say, it feels like we all just got detained by like some sort of border patrol or something.
I think something about how white this LED light is,
Yeah.
too. It does feel like a weird futuristic movie.
Can we paint the scene for people?
Oh, yeah.
So, Zach, take it away.
This is an audio cast. I forget about that sometimes.
Yeah, Nick had a little intro before he got in. I'm sure he can use
I can use it, but it is fun.
a cold open that'll say
but
we're in the
let's
car.
really, now that the camera's set up, now that we've got all our mics
The
in hand,
camera's set up.
we're all the way past the intro. So now what are people seeing when
What's
they walk
funny
by?
to me is to have each and every one of you try to describe what we're doing right now.
I'd like to, I think I'll start.
Please.
Go for it.
Is essentially, we are 4 cat freaks, and we went and saw the new Garfield movie. We did it.
Yeah.
And now we are outside of an AMC in Burbank. We won't tell you which of the 12 AMCs. We're outside of one of them. And we are in a parking garage, and we are giving the rawest, freshest take of not Garfield the movie. That's from 2004.
Yeah.
The Garfield movie. That's 2024. We'll get into all that. But, we're in Danny's Prius C. It's pretty cozy, but there's no AC going for sound, so that, I think, will lead to literal hot takes.
Especially,
in about
when
20
we
minutes.
start speaking more, exhaling carbon dioxide.
Or when you guys are already sweating lasagna.
We
I will
should
say
call,
that.
Yeah, I will say for the people who aren't following on social, Adam Newman snuck in a full Stouffer's lasagna.
Oh, it was a Costco Kirkland. It was a
Kirkland
Kirkland
brand.
brand.
Let's-
which was
Sausage and
actually why it
beef?
was so good.
It actually was pretty solid.
Let me
Pretty
now
good.
do my part of the setting the scene for people. What we have done tonight is accomplished something that I didn't really think could be accomplished after I turned 40, which was I feel humiliated. The whole time filming ourselves doing the stuff, like in the middle, just walking into this theater, the prime theater in the entire space.
As if this was like walking into the bedroom of the Queen of England.
Yeah, and just so conspicuous that we were walking into the Garfield movie. Zach went and got a beer at MacGuffin's, and the bartender, you said, laughed in your face when you told him that we were going in
she
there.
asked if what we were seeing, and we said Garfield, and it seemed like Garfield hasn't played in this theater in 40 years.
I was embarrassed to be in there. I was embarrassed around the other people who were watching the movie, oddly enough.
Dude, you just got to chill out and enjoy your life for a few seconds. I mean, we went and we saw Garfield.
I'm humiliated like 98% of my life, and I didn't feel that at all in there.
Yeah, because you're so used to it.
That's true. Now, I want to lean in that I fed off of Danny's embarrassment. It made me lean in more. I liked it. I probably wouldn't have even done the photos, but watching how Danny looked like, honestly, he looked like he was going to shoot up the place.
I thought about it.
He had that level of energy.
Hold on, are we 75 yards away? Because we're legally allowed to say that if we're 75 yards away
I
from the
want to
theater.
be
We're
unequivocal.
75 yards above the theater.
Yeah,
That's
we
how high we are
We're
in the
far away
parking
from the
garage.
theater.
We're Unabomb levels high right
I want to
now.
be clear. I would never bring a firearm into a theater or shoot anybody, but I was hoping that someone would.
Honestly, I think that's illegal to do.
You're
I
allowed
think
to
you
hope
can.
that.
And honestly, that's a bit of a Garfield take, Danny. That's
You think
sort of-
so?
Yeah, I
good
just think just sort of like hoping someone just shot up a place. I just think that was what a modern Garfield would do.
Some
well-
fucking furry stands up in the front row dressed as Nermal with a backpack on.
That person would have been sorely disappointed, by the way, of the lack of Nermal in
I
this
do
movie.
Yeah,
sort of
something to
like
get
the
into.
idea of a Garfield truther who just takes it too far. Just like, they're ruining the brand.
I'm ready to get there. I was heated up during
Yeah.
a lot of that bullshit.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen, it's interesting. I guess we might as well go right into it, right?
Well,
we gotta
yeah, I
start.
wanted. Do you guys? I think This Week in Cat. Let's just say, is fucking Garfield.
Yeah, because that's
Garfield.
This Week in Cat, Garfield made a movie and put it out.
There hasn't been a Garfield movie since 2006.
Well, Dan, Garfield
it's a
didn't
big deal.
make a movie and put it out. He didn't make this movie.
How much
I
do you
know.
think
I will say a
Garfield
lot of the
could pay to
movie
be in
has
this
Garfield
movie?
talking to camera as if he is the one directing the movie.
And honestly, if Garfield didn't make this movie, then someone even lazier did.
Yeah, I like to blame a cat or maybe a dog. I'd like to blame a dog.
Should we get into just like?
I thought
if-
Snoop Dogg made this movie.
I have a bit of a rundown. It's nothing crazy because I think we're going to get into hot takes. But I want to just talk about, basically, I have the history of Garfield at the movies.
Okay.
I just want to bring us up to speed. I
Great.
want to bring us to this point, how we got here, okay? So really, it's 2004, okay? We've got Garfield, the movie. So it's Garfield,
Yeah.
the movie. Plot, Garfield, voiced by Bill Murray, lives a content life with his owner, John Arbuckle, played by Breckin Meyer, who we love. However, his life takes a turn when John adopts a dog named Odie. Garfield's jealousy leads to Odie being kidnapped, and Garfield's got to rescue him. Okay? Yeah, movie received
Oh.
generally negative reviews, but made over $200 million at the box office.
So there it is. Ring
Did
a
a lot
ding
of money.
ding.
Did- made
That's
a lot of
why all of this is still happening.
Garfield returns in 2006 for Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. Pretty solid title. Sequel, also featuring Bill Murray as the voice of Garfield, follows Garfield as he travels to the UK and is mistaken for a royal cat named Prince. Garfield ends up in a grand castle while Prince has to adapt to Garfield's normal life. It's kind of fun. Not well received. Made $143 million in the box office. Still pretty good. So basically, Garfield
And
has
then
been
they-
out of theaters since.
Why? If it was making cash, why?
No more
I'm assuming
ideas.
it has something to do with the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008. Whoever was heavily financing Garfield movies lost their shirt.
Yeah, I think it was part of the ACA, actually, that in order to be able to take some of the power away from the insurance companies.
They had to agree to not make another Garfield.
I think the reason is after that 2006 movie, they did write another movie. It was just that the technology wasn't there yet to make what they wanted
I
to
love
make.
that.
You know,
Oh my God.
after
I do
seeing
like that
this
idea.
one,
The technology hath wrought.
Well, we'll pivot just for a
Okay.
second from the Garfield stuff. Say my favorite movie quote of all time is Nicolas Cage talking about the National Treasure movies, and he keeps saying that they're working on a third script, but they're just too hard to write. And I think that's such a funny thing, and I love it. So basically, I want to also just take a moment to acknowledge direct-to-video movies, because that's really how Garfield kind of got its start. Its theatrical start. And so essentially, there's a bunch of animated specials we talked about, but there's direct-to-video Garfield Gets a Life, 1991. Garfield's Fun Fest, 2008. Garfield's Pet Force, 2009. Kind of kept the dream alive. But finally, we're returning to the theater. And before we get into our reviews, I want to talk about... I looked up some of the critical reviews of this movie.
Oh, please.
And I think these are professional opinions, okay, going in. Is that okay if I share that first?
Please do.
I have a couple negatives right out of the gate.
Wow.
And right out of the gate, I'm going to say one of the most scathing reviews comes from Games Radar Plus, which questions whether the writers have ever seen an actual Garfield comic strip. The review criticizes the film's hectic plot and lack of connection to the original charm, feeling the film's story is too removed from Garfield's lazy, sardonic nature to be satisfying for longtime fans. RogerEbert.com hated it. We talked Fandom Wire, hated it. They received one positive review, though, that I found. And this one made me laugh. It's from Mama's Geeky. Mama's Geeky praised the film for its beautiful animation, emotional storyline, and the fun and silly adventure Garfield embarks on with his father. The review notes that while the humor might be more suitable for children, the film manages to deliver emotional moments that even moved some kids to tears during the screening. Mama's Geeky, everybody. What do we think?
I think Mama's creepy. Wants to see them kids cry.
Well, I think I wanted to just show that real professional critics have gone both ways.
How professional is Mama Geeky?
As professional as RogerEbert.com at this point. I don't know if anybody's...
It's true that RogerEbert.com, who even knows who's the steward of that?
Well,
It's not
I imagine RogerEbert.com is a small office with 100 reviewers all dressed as Roger Ebert.
Yeah, you have to wear like a fancy.
You look, you look. It's all different shapes, sizes, creeds, colors, contours.
I love that you think there's 100 employees being supported by RogerEbert.com.
But
it's
here's
an
the
AI
thing.
by now. It's an AI.
One time a year, they all get together and they form like a sort of like a king rat.
Okay.
And that's when they do their Oscar picks.
I do. We want to kind of just start getting into the hot sloppy takes.
I jotted some notes down. They're not necessarily in order, but
I did as well. So whenever you're ready,
I want to hear from other people because I know how I feel, and I think you could see on my face how I felt. So no surprise here. Why don't you guys go?
I'll go first. I have my notes kind of out, and I'll just kind of try to relive some of the magic in my head. I think we can all agree that was a big miss.
Yeah.
I think it was a big miss. We are going in there as four silly guys who are under various substances that if this movie couldn't kind of win us over, I don't know. I don't think we went in with too negative or ironic of an attitude that we couldn't have had fun if it was kind of fun.
The bar was low.
The bar was low. I think that's what I said getting ready for the movie coming. I was like, you know what? I even like Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec. There's a chance. I was like, there's even a weird chance in hell that he could win me over. I will say, it was poorly directed. I never say that about animation, but it's very sloppy. But the thing that I hated the most was Garfield was set up to have a funny line in almost every single scene, and then they just didn't write one. So this falls fully on the writers, where it's just you have to write funny things for Garfield to say.
Especially for a book based on a comic strip. It's there
literally
were no
the comic strips are set
punchlines.
up in 1, 2, 3 punches.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scenes were set up for Garfield to say a funny line. And you know what they did? Multiple times. Garfield turned to Odie and went, "What? That's not a joke. That's not a you can't that's like a high school screenplay."
I was thinking it had the joke level, the humor level of a progressive ad. I think that's basically what we were looking at is that
I think
level
you might
of
be
comedy.
right. I do think that this is maybe the first fully AI written script, and they just fed them different Jamie and Flo jokes, and they were like, "This is fucking hilarious."
You're touching upon something that was a big plot point that I want to hear opinions on. Is Garfield's relationship with Odie was quite different in every way. Odie was more of
I wrote it. Odie treated like an equal.
Yeah.
And I did not like it. I didn't care for it. I
So
thought
they made Odie smart.
Yeah.
they made
Odie was in on the joke a lot of times.
I think across the board they didn't want to be mean. and it kept Garfield from actually being funny.
Oh, you try to please everyone. You please
It's
no
just
one.
insane. Like Garfield A is not fat enough.
Mhm.
Garfield is fully just like friends with Odie, and that's not really what's going on, guys. That's not the charm. The whole idea is that the cat outsmarts this dumb dog.
My issue with Odie was like I didn't ever want to think Odie was sweet and cute and like lovable sidekick.
Mhm.
I wanted to kind of hate Odie with Garfield. I went in wanting to like see people piss and shit all over Odie's fucking face, but we didn't get that. We got he was like a sweet character that kind of tied the whole thing together. He was the glue. He was the real star.
He was loyal. He was there
loyal.
for Garfield.
Yeah,
And he could do math.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. He was like a human Swiss Army knife. I didn't like it.
And he barely had his own agency. I feel like he was barely a character, not just not the character that he is in the comic strips, but like he didn't really have any motivation of his own. Dare I say he was kind of like a Bagger Vance a little bit.
Dare you say?
Oh yeah, wow.
In this close proximity.
We'll cut that out of the podcast. I can't believe he dared to say that.
We're not allowed. I like the fact that we've gotten so post-racial that we can that saying Bagger Vance is a slur almost.
It's tough. It's tough to hear.
And he said it twice. I think you can kind of go character by character, and they were all a little off.
John didn't even go looking for like
My
what.
my other like structural problem was the fact that John is basically they only show him like freaking out once.
And like sitting at the
And that's
table
like,
at home.
I want a
yeah.
B plot of John looking for his cat.
Yeah. Also, isn't John kind of a jerk? He's always kind of put off, and Garfield's always making his life sort of annoying like hell. Like,
And they fully made John a cuck.
yeah, they just made him sweet. I
Loves Garfield.
Yeah.
That was his main motivation. John dates in the comic. That's a huge plot point. Is that John is trying to live a life of a single man,
And the cat ruins
and
it.
the cat ruins it, and gleefully so, because Garfield wants to be alone with John. He wants all of John's love. We saw none of that in here because we were completely replaced John with, for no fucking reason, Garfield's dad, Vic.
I was wondering, and who wants to really start with talking about Vic?
Adam, did you like Vic?
No, and it was Samuel L. Jackson, and it did seem like he was going to say fuck a whole lot, but then he never really did. And
No
that
one
was,
did.
That was about as close to the edge of my seat as I got.
I thought that Vic was standalone. Samuel L. Jackson did a great voice job. Like, I didn't hate anything he was in. I just was constantly like, why are you here?
He had no reason to be. Name one thing that happens to Garfield in this movie that couldn't have happened without Vic.
He gets hugged by his estranged dad.
There's also just a huge. I don't want. I mean, I'm
That was
sorry.
actually really quick. Good job.
Sorry to spoil anything for anybody listening. None of you are going to see this movie.
Don't see
I know
this
it.
movie. It's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
good.
don't. Yeah. I hope that's clear by now.
Here's
But it
the
wasn't
deal.
a good-
These
but,
people
like-
are going to see this movie 1 year later when it comes out on Pluto. Maybe even in
Yeah.
like 3 weeks. It'll be on Paramount Plus. So you
Oh,
get
it's
to
going to
watch it.
blow up on Paramount Plus.
It's going to be a good one. Sorry, Adam.
There were like not even plot holes, just like not good reasons for things
Yeah.
happening. You know, what was the one I just blanked on the one I was thinking of. I know me and Danny looked at each other, we like threw hands in the air to be like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Nothing
like,
makes the. Are you talking about
like
the cheese factory?
the cheese
how the
factory.
chi- how
No, I
there
think it was
like-
the reason. Fucking Jesus.
I do love the Cheese Factory.
I mean, the reason they gave that Garfield and Odie even had to go with
Right.
with the dad.
Dude, first off, the dad takes Odie and Garfield. For some reason, Odie and Garfield get kidnapped by a woman who wants revenge on Garfield's dad. And so Garfield's dad has to do a heist for her with Garfield and Odie that she
Complicated.
could have easily done herself.
But it
or
has to
giant
go
hench
with
dogs.
them because she needs Vic to be in distress because of their awkward relationship. You're like,
Yes, yes.
this is too
By the
complicated
way,
for a
this-
kid to understand. It doesn't even
there-
make sense when you do understand.
There's,
it.
Yeah,
there's
it was-
another
it was
character.
shoehorned.
There's a whole different character that facilitates the actual. Like, you think Garfield's dad is going to teach Garfield how to
Right,
heist,
right.
but another character does that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think we could go just talk about plot holes.
Yeah,
over and
yeah.
over again.
But Adam's point is correct that there were too many to even.
Yeah, there were a
remember.
bunch of
It
like
was-
this doesn't even
it
make
was a
sense
bad movie.
in a cartoon world.
I have some notes here jotted down, and maybe we can all kind of throw out what their opinion on these notes I jotted. I thought it was like a low rent Toy Story sequel. That's kind of how this went. a
That's
little
too complimentary.
I do
Like-
think that my thought of the Vic character alone is it felt like introducing a dad character, leaving John, felt like a sequel move.
Yeah, yes.
And it's so weird to do that. They're clearly relaunching a franchise. It's clearly not our old Garfield. Let's be. It's not even. Whatever. I don't care. If they're, it's like it's a hard launch. Let's do it again.
I want to know, why can't I have a movie that kind of feels like The Show a little bit? Where
Yeah.
it's maybe an anthology where we get a couple of stories. He's a cowboy, the first story, a cop in the second, and a space in third. And we get just pure jokes. And, make it a PG movie and make it just a cartoon.
I think that sounds great. I think we would enjoy that. Would kids enjoy it? Would
I don't
it do
think
well? I don't
anybody
know.
has any real attachment to Garfield except for fat, like, comic losers.
Yeah, that was my
Those are the
main
only
feeling.
people who like it. And by the way, that's sort of me. I'm not trying. I'm sure maybe somebody's listening to this who really loves Garfield, and you maybe fit the bill. But it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, uber nerds about Garfield are not the kids who they're going for here. It's literally, it could have just been a Sonic movie. It really doesn't fucking
Any
matter.
other characters
Any
could have
IP.
done this plot.
There was no
Absolutely.
real Garfield in this Garfield movie, and I don't know why companies constantly fuck this up, production companies or whoever's making Sony.
Yeah, I
did
don't
Sony make
understand
this?
why there's like zero fan service to like their original to like foster
Why?
a flame.
Can't this
in
just
a
happen in
crowd.
the house? Let it happen in the house. Let it take place in the backyard at least.
I
where we
mean-
can see stuff that we saw in the Garfield comic strip and stuff that we saw in the cartoon, and not just invent like a fucking
dairy
Bugs
farm.
Bunny
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, a reason for
Who
car chases, a
cares?
reason for giant set
And
pieces.
Zach,
Or
because
at
you
least,
said you'd
or at least go away from that after the first act, where we see like the first
Right.
act. Let us live in that space.
Zach, you mentioned
It wasn't even a
something
whole first act.
as we left, and you were like, I should save this. But you said you've never seen a movie do a better job of focusing on the wrong characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think no better example of just like clear franchise mismanagement than the end credits, where during the credits they don't show old Garfield comics or cartoons, something that you would stay and be excited about. They show sketches and cartoons of every side character. Garfield does not exist in the end credits at all. And it's like, yeah, we don't care about these people.
Well, I mean,
I
but
called
also
them people. That was the first mistake.
these cows.
Yeah, I
this
just, like-
relationship
Oh, man.
between two fucking
I'm just sort of
cows.
like,
Who cares?
and it's basically the same deal with the whole Vic storyline, which was like Vic was actually a like co-lead. It was like the second to main character, better more than Odie. He's in every scene. You're like, I kind of don't hate the idea. It's too much. We gotta like let us hang out with our fat boy.
Also, was Vic funny ever? Was he really like? Did he ever do anything
No.
funny?
I
But
think
then
that
Garfield
this tells
didn't do
me
anything
this
funny
is
either.
that goes back to just like cowardice in the front office, because Vic should have been a gangster. Vic should have like known how to do things dirty, because they even made jokes about a street cat, but Vic didn't do anything.
No, he didn't
No.
deliver on
He's
any
just
of it.
like lives outside, and that's like that's not really like.
And he
lean into what
he
that character
kind
is.
of gets on Garfield's case for like a hot second, but mostly he's just like saccharine sweet.
yeah,
and
no
why-
sketchy friends or anything really.
Yeah.
Right. Why did they like have a bickering relationship to begin with? I mean, I understand why Garfield was mad at him, but he was mad at Garfield. There was no misunderstanding about what happened.
He wanted to be treated better. That's all. He just was upset about,
I mean,
doesn't,
I
once
didn't
again,
catch
to
it.
pick through this stuff, it was not a good film. Let me
I had a pet peeve. I'm sorry. I had a pet
Please,
peeve,
Adam.
and Danny said it to me, and I had been thinking it. But I'll just I'll just say it, and I'll credit Danny for also having the same thought. But back in my day, cartoon food looked awesome,
Yeah.
and this looked weird and waxy and
Oh,
fake
man,
and like
that
gross.
lasagna
Gross
at the
looking.
end looked hideous.
Yeah, it was just
oh, no,
like
the lasagna at
Play-Doh.
the beginning, where he was just sort of like, I was just like, what is this?
No, you want to be looking at that food like Garfield looks at that food. They did it. They tried to make like the fucking cow character have like interesting horns or whatever. Like, they made that look really
he actually
intricate.
looked pretty good, that cow character.
I mean, you could see his hairs move.
I liked those two characters. And I
Like
think
both
that actually,
the cows?
yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm actually sort of not interested in seeing where this goes.
It was a sex scene,
But-
actually. That's
That
how
was
it
funny.
closed.
I laughed at the sex music coming
did
on.
too.
When they showed that couple, or they would show the cow and the bull, and they'd have I was actually like a little breath of like relief of like, I can relax and not have to watch this fucking Garfield thing.
Yeah,
like,
honestly,
I don't-
watching
I
him and his
didn't-
dad
I
was
so
uncomfortable.
bored
Yeah.
of it. I hated the evil villain character.
Oh,
why
she's
did she
awful,
have a
yeah.
mood necklace on that was never actually?
Unclear.
It didn't tell you.
Fully unclear.
So the villain was a cat, also a cat, a fancy schmancy cat. I think we had a breeds episode where we talked about this exact type of cat with the
It's like a
the
Prussian
white
white-
Shiba, Prussian white, something like that. And she was played by Hannah Waddingham, so she was British. But she was just. She had the stupidest revenge plot ever.
Maniacal, upset that she went to the pound for a long time, kind of misleads you into thinking that her and Vic had like a real relationship. I thought the reveal might be this was Garfield's mom.
I thought for a second it was going to be
almost
also.
feels like that would have been too logical for this film. And
Yeah.
once again, I don't want to pick through the plot. Here's my next note. The one thing they did lean on in the Garfield universe is that Garfield likes to eat, and they dropped the ball on that. Like, they were trying desperately to make eating funny in this film, and they swung and
Wow.
they missed
Yeah.
every single time.
They really failed at that.
They failed at it. It was just like there was not one funny gag when he was eating anything. Nothing.
They tried with the wide mouth open pizza thing, but it's like we've all
many
seen
times
that
have you
before.
seen that,
Yeah, it
man?
wasn't anything.
Oh,
new.
everything was.
And they called it back, and it was like
derivative
that's the
hack joke.
biggest eating stunt they had.
Just not good.
I mean, because Garfield would in the cartoons, he would flip a cake upside down and then it would fall into his mouth. There was some kind of interesting choreography.
There
that
was
they
not.
didn't
And you
use.
know what? They missed from the food concept in the entire movie, which I think would have furthered the plot, which is that he eats and then he's lazy. And the fact that
And he shits.
he just
Those big shits he
Well,
used to
honestly,
take.
but
dude,
like
go
you're
all the
fat
way.
and shit, and you're just laying
Yeah.
down. He's lazy and sitting, and like in each scenario, you'd have like someone who would need his help, and he'd have to begrudgingly be a good guy. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'd follow along.
Make logic of that. You might as well, because another weird thing that they did was they tried to give you a reason why he didn't like Mondays. Like they made that they were like, people, you can't just say
There's
I
a
don't like
montage of
Mondays.
Bad things, and we're like, why is this Monday related?
Yeah, everything happened on Monday. He would go to the vet on Monday. He'd go to the primp and polish place on Monday. It would be like he'd have to get his shots. He'd be getting a bath, and they're all supposed to have happened on a Monday, and that's the origin why Garfield hates Mondays. They throw that in for no reason up front. It doesn't come in handy later. They do this whole montage. So if you're going to make logic of that and actually blow it, because what I liked about the Mondays thing is really the whole ethos of what Garfield, the original comic strip was, is he's just kind of like a curmudgeon who talks like he's like a jaded guy.
Yeah, he was smiling so much in this movie.
And
he was so positive.
I Googled back in this backseat right now, I Googled, why does Garfield hate Mondays? And from 1981, in a comic strip, it was written, it begins a long week of drudgery with no end in sight. It's why humans hate Mondays. It's because we have to go to work and it's boring, but it's funny that a cat feels this way.
I always figured it was John goes to work, and now he doesn't have John, and it's his boring week without John.
I think it's funny to think that a cat just has the same animosity that we do toward
Yes.
just because it embodies all the things about our id. Like, it hates going to work. It loves to fucking shove its face full
Exactly.
of food.
It wants to
It doesn't
watch-
want to get off of his ass.
It wants to watch TV and be lazy.
That's
Garfield's
Garfield.
just
He's
a
lazy
human.
and selfish.
And they don't do any of that. They make him a cat totally in this film, even though you're kind of hearing him. It was a bummer to me. Another big thing that was weird was we talked a lot on the last time we talked about in the original Garfield episode. By the way, we've talked about Garfield in general, if you want to go back and listen to that. Anytime Garfield talked off screen, I didn't know what character was talking.
Yeah.
Like the Chris Pratt voice doesn't line up so much that in the beginning I was lost. I was like, okay, who is saying? Oh, that's Garfield.
Yeah,
Okay.
because honestly, you have Vic. You have all these other characters, even that big dog, which I forget. They all have deeper, almost Garfield-like voices.
Right.
And by bailing on that simple conceit, they absolutely make voice acting confusing on this
Yeah,
movie.
well, I mean, those other characters, just whatever they were trying to make out of like the big British Shar-Pei that ends up being a New Yorker or something at the
Yeah,
very end.
but
It's like that's a gag.
I don't
but,
blame
like, these-
them for desperately reaching for a single joke.
Or this like Lion King hyena ripoff that with like the googly eyes dog. Whatever they were trying to do with these other characters, like it shouldn't come close to overshadowing Garfield in any way.
And I would say they should all serve Garfield.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not surrounding Garfield with go-getters and people who like have a plan,
Positive people, honestly.
people who just need Garfield to get off his rump and have a sense of adventure, and then they failed.
No, it was
Then
just
they failed.
people who like antagonized him for no reason, I guess, because one cat wanted revenge on Garfield's estranged dad.
It was so complicated. It was just so much exposition for no reason at all.
Also, can I mention something
please.
because we're talking about these side characters? You mentioned earlier that Garfield wasn't fat. Was
Yeah.
that and here's the thing, it's so annoyingly obvious in all of these scenes because there are like a dozen characters who are fatter,
I
larger,
know.
like, and there's jokes where you can see two characters next to each other. One is Vic, is clearly like 3 times Garfield's size, and he's making fun of
Yeah.
Garfield because Garfield can't fit through the same
and then
fucking tube as
Garfield's
him.
like, "Are you sure? Like you're clearly bigger." And then the character would just be like, "Nah, man.
no,
Yeah.
you're
There's a
fat
lot
one.
of that.
You're
There's a
fat.
lot
They
of
truly
Garfield.
so
Nah.
many
Nah,
Yeah,
you're
the
dude.
earpieces.
It's you, dude.
With
Yeah.
the acorns, like, how does it work? And it's just like,
It
Oh,
just does.
I guess it does.
I guess it does.
Weird.
Such a fucking shrug and a shoulder in every joke. I hate that. Just
Yeah.
like no conviction.
It really was a less funny Deadpool, right? It was like,
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's like they have the people who wrote it don't know who they wrote it for, and that is that is your first mistake.
That let this be my one takeaway from watching this film is that this movie is not a movie for kids. It's a movie for stupid adults. Like you have to be really stupid, and you have to be the kind of person who, when you watch a movie, you don't think about why one scene bleeds into another scene.
yeah.
You just are enjoying the ride of pictures moving around in your face
I'll say
and
this.
jokes you've heard before.
I was watching this film for an hour. Everything was fine. I was like, okay, this is Garfield. Yeah, this seems cool. All of a sudden, I started to notice myself, and I started to notice what I was watching, and I just started to almost get sick to my stomach. And I realized it's because I had finished my Reese's Pieces. That's where the joy was coming from.
I
Yeah.
felt a little bit like that after I finished the full half of the lasagna
I mean,
that I brought in.
this begs to be discussed because Adam brought in the highlight of the movie for all of us who partook in it.
I did not.
Yeah, but I mean, I was like 5 minutes into the movie, and I was just thinking like, when is Adam going to pull out that fucking lasagna? Because at least I will be doing something other than just watching this movie.
Much easier to sneak in
It
than
does-
I expected.
Yeah,
to.
Oh, a clean operation.
Just-
AMC does not give a
yeah.
shit.
You said they probably wouldn't check my bag. I definitely
feel
had
like
my bag
we've
checked
reached,
at the
I
theater.
feel like we've reached that like shoplifters in San Francisco level of like sneaking into movies where it's just like they can't legally check your bag for anything under $800.
Yeah.
Once the fat Reddit community bailed out AMC on the stock market, I think they just kind of like let them bring in their peanuts.
So Adam, why don't you give us some?
Anybody in an oversized Jack Skellington hoodie can bring in whatever they want.
Adam, give us a sort of a background on how you got the lasagna into the theater.
Sure. Well, as you know, we've been talking about the last few days. We thought it would be funny to bring a lasagna into the Garfield movie. And so earlier today, yesterday, I went to Costco. I got that sausage and beef double lasagna pack. I cooked one of them up about an hour before I was going to leave for the movie. I got a nice tight-fitting Tupperware for it. I pre-cut it
into Fourths. Stopped at Ralph's on the way. Got some got some paper plates.
Now,
got
can
some Parmesan. Got some Parmesan cheese.
Damn
got
right.
some napkins and.
you got the packs of napkin, fork, and knife.
Oh yeah, we had
Yeah,
those
you
at
spared
home.
no expense.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
never mind
actually,
then.
we had those. Well, yeah, those are just leftovers
You
from.
saved a little money.
You know, I don't know about you guys,
smart.
but when we order for me and my wife, when we order like Postmates or something
There's
for
just
two
a full
people,
drawer
you get
of
like
your-
9. I don't know what your record
plastic
is.
forks.
Yeah,
Now I want to ask a question about the lasagna.
I'm sure.
Now you cut it into fourths.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 4 of us,
Yep.
right? So there's
Uh-huh.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
There was still a 4th left over, right?
Uh huh.
Now what happened out
I
there?
ate it.
You ate it.
I ate the whole set.
but whose was that for?
It was for Nick. Nick passed on the lasagna.
Yeah, I knew Nick was.
Yeah.
Nick made it clear before
not
the
eating
pod
it.
he was not.
I
gonna
want to
eat that
just.
lasagna.
Was
I
there-
want to.
wait, what's-
I want to
I'm
peek
just-
behind the
I
curtain.
will say-
Nick was not into the lasagna.
I'm
No,
not
and
into
and
it.
I can respect. I don't know. Well, I mean, I'll just respect that he wasn't into it because that's his MO. But I'm
His
curious.
heritage.
I'm curious
I respect
why
I'm
why
not
were
a-
you not into the
I'm
lasagna
not
at
a
the movie?
I'm not a jackass guy.
I
I don't do
I think
pranks.
that's what it was.
Here's
and
the thing.
I think Nick.
I don't
will
do
sp-
pranks. I just
respect-
make fun of my close friends.
Nick
That's my
had. I
humor.
respect your first angle because I think you were like, I hate to be the people sitting next to us in the theater.
Yeah,
I
of
can
course.
understand
And
that.
I didn't think anyone would be next to us in the theater.
I didn't think so either. My thing with pranks
Yeah.
is if there is no victim.
Yes.
Right. If no, I am not into a prank. If we were in a packed theater and people were all
Yes.
around us and there were like a family with kids next to us,
Yes.
I would have been like, let's bail on it. I don't want to ruin
I
anyone's
think there's a
good time.
level of movie too.
Yeah. Us 4 guys going into Garfield and thinking we were going at an off time where no one would be around us, pulling out a lasagna would be funny. And so that's how it turned out.
I don't even think it was. It's not even that it was funny.
Oh, it was also so awesome
yeah,
to have
it was
a
good.
lasagna
It was
dinner.
exciting.
That was my dinner.
To
I didn't
have
eat dinner.
like a new
I
kind of
love
movie
Danny's
snack.
qualification, which is like, I did not think it was funny.
No,
Yeah.
it's like I
No.
don't do things as a goof really either. I'm
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Nick on that. I just was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, lasagna, and it's all set up for me with a little paper
Right.
plate and utensils and parm
And a
like,
garbage
yeah,
bag,
I'll
yeah.
eat this
You
in
like
the
a
middle
nice
of the
dinner. You like a
AMC.
treat.
Yeah,
You like a
whatever.
it's a picnic.
I didn't feel like popcorn, but I felt like having just the top part of my lasagna.
I think anything
Danny
short
is
of fish.
is a freegan, so I mean he's gonna eat lasagna out of a backpack.
I
They
do
make a
all
new
eat
Free
whatever
Willy. I'm
lasagna.
gonna make with
Yes,
salmon.
we don't watch any fish-themed movies with Adam because then I think we're gonna, a lot of baked fish.
Yeah,
a
well,
lot of
I thought
cod.
the funniest part about it, and also I wish I did eat it because then I wouldn't be able to smell it right now, guys. But
I am sweating it in this
yeah,
car
it's
right
like
now.
Yeah,
I'm
this
having a
car is-
lasagna. It's actually not that bad.
This
Well, I
car
think-
basically feels like
We're baking.
Kandahar.
They're doing
Yeah.
a screening of The Lobster coming up. If you guys want to go to that one together.
Oh no!
What I thought
That'd
was
be delicious.
was very funny during like the big rush to get the lasagna on plates and everything, and then I was sort of waiting for like a camera crew to come out and just be like, "Okay, let's really send this one home." And it's just I just watched you guys like furiously eat lasagna in
I
the
was so
dark.
hungry.
Yeah,
I was,
it did-
I was so
it didn't
hungry
really
and
become
high
a
by the
bit-
time I got it
there
out.
was a moment where it stopped being about the bit
Yeah, I
and
just, like,
started being about the bite.
I was like, "What am I looking at here? What's happening?"
It's
you guys are
honestly-
just chowing down on lasagna.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
good.
heard
It was
And you
good.
got
It was a
9
good
minutes
lasagna.
of unwatchable dark blurry footage on your phone of it that I'm going to try to lighten up.
I will say, for all those people, at this point, we live in a world where Alamo draft houses are like
Right.
all over the place.
Yeah.
People are used to the smell of people eating
That's
while they
right.
watch a movie.
And it's thrilling to think about new things that you could accomplish eating in a theater.
Danny,
the more
what?
complex.
oh
the
my
better.
god! I just got it because Garfield eats lasagna.
yeah.
That's-
this whole it's thrilling, Dan, is starting to creep me out a little
Let's
bit.
just start thinking about creative. They don't need to be tied into the movie, but just what's a thing that you could cook and present to other people sitting with you in the theater that would be, a real tightrope act.
You know, I
A
don't.
3-course
Yeah.
kind of
Ratatouille?
Yeah,
Well,
like
we were brought in for
exactly.
that.
yeah, I think there's like an ice luge with vodka.
Mm-hmm.
There's something.
Well, just the fact that I basically brought in a messenger bag full of nothing but food and a hoodie on top of it to mask it. My confidence to bring something into a movie now, especially in AMC, is through the roof. I mean, like, I'm not a huge drinker, but like if you want to bring
famous
in
last words from a guy who's about to go to jail for the rest of his
A man
life.
was
That's true,
arrested in Burbank for trying to eat sushi off of a naked woman during a Garfield the movie.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's what
what
it says. I have to think of another movie coming out. Oh no.
That would have made the bit far more marketable. Actually, is that's what I was imagining, is that an usher would come in and immediately like escort us out.
I figured
for
if,
opening lasagna.
All the ushers
Yeah.
died during COVID.
I figured if we went in and they were like, "Can we look in your bag?" and they literally went through. I mean, I had a million excuses ready to go. I was going to go, "Oh, I work at whatever. This is just my Tupperware
Yeah, I
for
work
my
at
leftovers."
Kirkland.
No,
I would have
this
said
my,
like
I
my
work
friend,
at the lasagna
yeah.
factory.
I'm
My
bringing this
friend
home
here-
for my wife later. It doesn't. Yeah.
My
You remember
friend
the
here
old
Yeah,
has
my
Spaghetti factory?
fucking dumb fucking girlfriend wanted all this lasagna. So I told her I'm going to quickly watch a 2-hour movie and then I'll bring it home.
You
I
honestly would have
volunteer at a local shelter that feeds lasagna to
had cats,
cats,
to stray cats.
to stray cats. Yeah, that's it.
I was
Okay,
just going to say
can
I brought it for Garfield.
I brought it for Garfield.
Yeah, you could
like
just-
the physical. You should, like Last Action Hero. You try to feed it through the screen.
Yeah, this is you pleading insanity. Basically, it's like you
Oh, the
can't arrest
perfect
me.
plan.
I'm insane.
I knew a guy who used to have to carry around a lot of really expensive camera gear in New York, and his whole plan, he did it regularly, is he would just walk insanely. Like he would like mumble to himself and like kind of twitch so that people wouldn't mess with him, and because he'd have like $2,000 worth of cameras
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
It's a good
They were
idea.
like, "What's that in your bag, guys?" Go, "It's
Oh,
my
fuck
friend.
you.
It's my friend."
I speak to God.
Yeah.
All right, I want to challenge everyone. I feel like we're starting to boil a little bit. I wanted to say, how would you fix this movie? If there was a way, like you are a studio executive, and I'm going to say this is not about making a sequel to this movie. This is like you're seeing one of the final edits of this movie. And you're basically you get to make like a few creative decisions that maybe could save it. What would you do? What's something right out of the gate?
First of all, I'm changing the cat's teeth.
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? I mean, I know
Sonic?
it was a big thing with Sonic, but did you notice? I mean, some of the cats did have the little fangs in there too, but way too human of teeth on the cats. I did notice. I didn't like that.
And
There's
they
way.
only had teeth when they wanted them to have teeth, which is an interesting. I get it.
Also, the closeness of the eyes, like it only.
Ooh, you're right. The
They
eyes
really
were
made
way
it
too
anime. They
melded
made it
together.
anime
Yeah.
a little bit.
I think you gotta give Vic terminal cancer in the first scene, so that he dies and is out of the movie completely. Make this movie, and it's been insinuated several times. Make this movie about the relationship between Garfield and John.
Thank you.
That's where it's at.
Of course, that's like the most Pussy Boys take of all time. By the way, we're
We're
obviously
the
gonna be,
Johns.
we're the Johns. We're the John stans, and the
Yeah.
fact that John was fully cut out of this storyline.
The
is
only
proof.
thing he did the entire movie was sit on the phone with the missing pet hotline. What's that?
It's weird.
I'll say that scene they showed twice where John goes back and gets the kitten version of Garfield and picks him up, hugs Garfield, and Garfield gives him a little kiss. That's my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Sure.
I was like, that's what I know about cats.
Yeah.
That's a cat film.
This is
The rest
what
of this
is
fucking
how-
nonsense, swinging around on vines, fucking
Yeah.
stealing milk,
He
that ain't no
doesn't-
cat film.
Garfield does not kick Odie off a table. He does not mail anyone to Abu Dhabi. He doesn't do any of the things that you associate with Garfield.
Now, I know
I have a way to fix this movie, and this is a simple thing, but I think it fixes a central joke that they tried to go back to that failed each time. There's a recurring joke that Garfield watches cat flicks.
Right.
And it's a parody of Netflix, but it's basically not Netflix. It's cat videos that aren't funny. They're just like cute cat videos.
And they're in YouTube format.
And they're in YouTube format. So what I would fix it is I would call it CatTube.
Yeah.
And I would make it videos of humans falling.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
falling on their ass.
Or-
and basically they'd just be like, these are such... And have Garfield be like,
Danny
such
said-
funny, simple animals. Something
Danny
like
said
that.
birds.
Just something cats would watch, but I actually like that idea more.
Because they're making fun
Making
of dogs.
one good joke. What you're saying basically is just one good runner joke could have saved this movie.
So easy. And then they just really... And this movie did it a couple times, and this is a great example. Is they even on the first Catflix joke, they show a second scene that is like a romance thing. Didn't really make sense. So it's like
yeah.
it's like a YouTube video, then a Netflix joke, and it just doesn't make sense. And this movie is guilty of doing 2 attempted punchlines of each. Like they both fail multiple times. There's 4 different endings. They never
many
just
goddamn
get
endings.
out.
Yep.
And
Well-
it's that's a sign that you just didn't hit the nail.
And every scene that's supposed to be like a big set piece always ends with it. First off, it does end like 4 different times, but then it ends in a way where somebody does something that they could have done from the beginning. Like the entire train final sequence is all about the threat of being pushed off the train onto spiky rocks. And so they set up a net, and then Garfield falls with Vic, I guess, onto the net, but then they fly back up onto the train. Then they fall again, but then they're just saved
It's
again.
easy. Yeah, the stakes are goofy. Nothing matters. It's silly.
It makes sense. It's not. I know it's a cartoon with talking animals, but like nothing is grounded in reality, so it's hard. It's hard to make any sense.
I
of
like
anything.
your take, because I didn't believe a thing.
Well, it's one thing to be like, okay, the animal talks. It's another thing to be like, oh, they can bounce from the bottom of a canyon up to the top, and then a flying fucking donkey, a
Be
flying bull can
consistent.
come.
Now,
if
Nick,
that's
you
the
seemed
tone,
upset.
great.
Nick, you seemed really upset about the phones up top.
Oh, what do you mean the?
There's so basically there's a flashback scene. Obviously they show Garfield in real time. Then there's a flashback to Garfield's on a phone ordering like Uber Eats basically. And
And
it's
I was
gross.
completely right in my preview that I sent to you guys about there being references to drones and dating apps.
Jesus. And I think that basically there's a they absolutely goof it up because they do a flashback and they're still on phones. While I understand their logic, it's 5 years ago because of a cat. It's a cat. It's so weird. It's the first time I've ever seen a flashback that still felt like the future to me.
Yeah.
And it felt so bizarre.
You just make it 1981. It would be fun. The kids don't care.
Kids
You
don't
know
care.
what I mean?
Also, just make it retro. That is
yeah,
like
it would
funnier.
Be really fun.
It's
to
funnier
see
as
it.
an idea.
And then you can make a lot of jokes about like the 80s and stuff like that. You can kind of lean and do like a Barbie fucking thing. Do something else but this. Here is my plot that I would like to see from a Garfield film. And I want them to stop making like what's the plot of that first Garfield film? The Garfield the movie?
He's trying to save Odie, who gets taken away by the pound.
Right, basically the exact same plot that we just watched, okay?
Yep.
So
At
this
least
big
it's the main
heist,
character.
caper thing, adventure. Then the other one is he gets mistaken for like a
For-
prince kitty
yeah.
in England.
a body swap.
I want to shrink this son of a bitch down. I want they get John and Odie and of course Garfield get new neighbors. The neighbors move in and it's a hottie with a cat who's also kind of a hottie. And John and Garfield are both wowed by the women in this house. And now they're like trying to like woo them for an entire film. And you can have some crazy characters come in. We can go out on the town and see the city for a fun but let it happen in the home. And also let it be more about John's trying to find love. And also Garfield needs something to do. He's just let him conquer. Like all of a sudden maybe the fun thing at the end is they're both obviously happy ending. And maybe the cool hottie cat like kind of gets Garfield on a treadmill
Nick,
like a
that's
little bit. Like
so good. It makes so much sense. You should have literally gotten $1 million just to go in and say that, and they could consider it
I mean,
because it's like,
and it's going to
how
be
did
so
they not think of
funny. I don't want adventure. I don't want an adventure cat. I want a comedy movie. Let it be like a buddy romance thing.
I'm with you.
Can you imagine like the scenes where
I
like
actually think you're right about there's a
John's upstairs like cooking a meal and trying to woo, and then downstairs or whatever it's a mirror scenes of the
same
two
sex
dates.
music they did in this
Right.
one, and the curtain closes in the bedroom upstairs, and
Tons
the
of
curtain
gas.
closes
Yeah,
in
if
the cat
anyone's
bed
gonna get their
downstairs.
dick wet, it should be Garfield.
And
and
Odie
Garfield
just
and
keeps
John both grooming at the same time.
Oh, it'd be
trying to
amazing.
be sexy.
This would be sponsored by Manscaped.
Cooking
I
eggs
assume.
I love
together in the
that.
morning, all happy that they got laid or whatever.
Odie,
And like, what's your deal?
Odie's like a cock block. That's like the running gag. Is
He's
he
humping
keeps
a pillow.
blowing it for the
Yeah.
two of them. Like both John and Garfield are about to like get some, and then Odie comes in at the wrong time. It could
Eats
be a
peanut
fun
butter
callback.
and dies.
Yes,
We-
something.
There's not even any hope for a sequel that makes any sense because
You can't
and
go back.
and we stayed until the very very last moment of this movie, past the post-credit sequence. They don't even tease a Nermal or anyone in the canon of
It doesn't
Garfield.
feel like it's for anyone who has seen Garfield
Yeah,
before.
that's
Nermal
that one
does
review was
show up
correct.
in one of those little shitty
like 4
post
slides.
scenes for a second.
That's
it's so
bullshit.
weird.
Don't do it like that. Also, is there a way to just do and maybe you can set this up, Zach, properly, but like, what was the lowest moment of this movie? The thing that you could point to and hate the most? I just have to bring one up, so yeah.
No, go for it.
The whole thing where Garfield gets sent to the pound and a bunch of other pound dogs tell this horror story about how much of a piece of shit Vic is that turns out to be he loves his son too much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's a little
everyone just
sloppy.
tells you how to feel.
Snoop Dogg is in that
It
one.
was
Snoop Dogg is there.
The most immediately recognized. Even you have Samuel L. Jackson the whole movie leading up to it, and then one word you're like Snoop. Like I immediately.
Yeah,
knew it
I
was-
mean the cameos in this were deplorable, and the
I,
people should be ashamed of that.
I
love
have
Snoop.
I have a low moment, and this is one that really rocked me hard. Basically, there's a joke and a callback, and they're both problematic to me as a comedian. They go against my core. Basically, it's basically in line with Garfield is not the fat one, even though they keep trying to make jokes that he's fat. So there's a joke that Vic basically tries to get his son Garfield to jump at some point, and then Garfield says, "I don't jump." Whatever. Yeah, and that could have been a better joke. But then later on, there's a potential callback. Odie in the cheese factory asks Garfield to jump, and Garfield just jumps, and there's no joke about it.
or no like acknowledgement of the growth or
Right.
the change
Yeah,
or like any of the
yeah.
story things that are good. There was something earlier where he's like one day he was like training him. He's like one day you're gonna need to be this fast or something. I don't think they brought that back at all, and I was waiting for that the whole time.
Well, speaking of the cheese factory, why would there be giant fondue, boiling vats
Yeah,
of
that doesn't-
fondue?
you
at a
don't
cheese
buy
factory?
fondue already melted.
I just don't understand why. Like, when did Americans decide eating itself, like eating is funny? Like, there's so many times in American comedy, like especially stuff geared towards younger people, that like the joke is like he ate cheese.
Because of the shame.
Is that what this is? Like
I
the idea
wonder-
when he's describing, there was a moment, my low point, there was a moment where he lands in that cheese factory. He lands like, you think he's dead, Garfield, but he rises up on a big hunk of cheese and he takes like a handful of it and he bites in and he goes, cheddar cheese,
Well, you're
one
right.
of my favorite 26 cheeses.
Right. Yeah.
I
was a
think so.
cringy
I
joke.
think the joke
to
is
me it was
that-
like cheese. We're still trying to push cheese itself being funny.
I think the thing that lines in for like kids and for probably the same thing for freaks who read comics back in the day. It is like the joke is just like uninhibited snacking. I'm a snack freak.
Right.
Well, but also cheese was a classic joke for kids. It was an Urkel thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
And
There was a
it was like a
joke.
screech
there
thing.
used to be a joke back in the day. Eating your way out of something is funny. Or like the classic Garfield joke is you take you make a small slice and then you take the big thing and eat it.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a joke.
Classic joke.
None of this was jokes. This was like, cheese, I ate it, and
I
that's
ate
that's
it.
not that
And
funny.
I
They
like
went
a
around
lot of
the jokes.
cheeses.
And-
they somehow avoided them all.
I think it is, and I'll say it. I've said it on this podcast 1,000 times. It's too woke. They're afraid to make a simple joke about portion sizes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That alone would have been a joke.
Yeah.
Everything you just mentioned
There
is
were
a
no-
portion joke, and I do think that there's like one fucking turd named like Todrick who's like, oh well, we technically can't with Ozempic and Wegovy, but
Right.
we can't.
And you know what? This is going to be the problem with the Beetlejuice movie. Beetlejuice. Is it's not going to be. It's going to be very, very safe.
Mm-hmm.
And much like Beetlejuice, Garfield needs to be a little dirty, a little grimy, a
Garfield's
got to
have claws.
Yeah.
The only I'll
Garfield's
say
got to have claws.
the only people with any balls these days is Family Guy. Okay. No,
God bless Family Guy.
I think we can all agree. I mean, we shouldn't be shocked if a story about a house cat got no balls.
Ooh, and with that, folks, I'm sweating too much to continue to do the podcast.
I agree, and I want to leave you guys on one title. There's no bit, no game.
No,
I
not
just
tonight.
basically want to share with you guys a silly little factoid, which is basically in the one of the funniest things that I found. 2004, Garfield the movie. Do you know there was only one other person considered to play the part of Garfield? Jack Nicholson.
What?
Jack
Ah.
Nicholson, and I just am curious what you guys think about that.
I think we should find a way to use an AI chatbot to have Jack Nicholson say
I
Garfield
mean,
lines.
I want to tell you, I'm one step ahead of you.
Thank you,
Wow.
Lord.
I've already created it, and I think we can
Here's
send the
Garfield.
folks out with it right now. Enjoy Jack Nicholson.
You make me want to be a fatter cat. You make me want to be a fatter cat, baby. And let me tell you, that's something Jack Nicholson never thought he'd hear himself say. You want the lasagna? You can't handle the lasagna. You want the lasagna? You can't handle the lasagna. This lasagna is about to take you on a wild ride through Flavor Town, and there's no turning back. Dig in, baby.
Seltzer Kings.
Podcasts.